Those things just wiped the floor with the militiamen.
Must be the special unit that wounded militiaman was talking about.
And now the wreckage is blocking the way. Snake, head straight for Liquid's camp. Hey, Snake, since when did you learn how to use CQC?
I got the training back when I was in Foxhound, but I never used it in actual combat.
You had those skills all this time and never used them? Why?
The man who taught me was my former commander in Foxhound.
Big Boss?
Never felt right using a technique learned from a man who'd betrayed his unit. Thinking back, CQC as a concept was way ahead of its time. Nobody was using it yet. Not the Green Berets, or the SEALs, or the CIA paramilitaries.
And then earlier this year, the Pentagon declassifies Big Boss's file for some reason. All of a sudden, his story is the stuff of pop culture. Books, magazines, the net. And now people are taking another look at CQC.
The war criminal, reinvented as a hero.
Big Boss's exploits as a Cold War secret agent back in the 60s have made him a legend.
The less people know about the truth, the more they can fantasize.
Is that why you finally decided to use CQC? Because it's no longer just his anymore?
The CQC soldiers use nowadays is a pale imitation. They're learning from reading about it. I learned through doing, and there's a world of difference.
Then you want to teach them the real thing. The way you learned from your Big Boss.
That's not it either. Some things aren't meant to be passed down to future generations. When some guy comes at me using that cookie-cutter imitation of CQC, my body just reacts naturally, that's all.
Ah, I get it. An eye for an eye. Well, maybe not quite. I reckon they'd lose more than just an eye when going up against you. Just a little farther to Liquid's camp. Merrill has given us his position. Check your radar to see which way to go. Snake, you're about to send the Mark II... Snake, you've gone outside the Mark II's manual control area. If you need to maintain control, select the Mark II again from the item window. Snake, there are more differences between the militia and the PMCs than you may think. For one thing, the PMCs are flush with cash, so they usually have the latest gear.
Looks that way. Weapon systems, combat suits, tactical vests, communications equipment. All the latest toys.
On top of that, they're running on the SOP system, which keeps them in constant contact with each other during battle. The militia, on the other hand, are little more than amateurs. Most haven't even had basic combat training. And their equipment is nothing to brag about either. They're just barely scraping by.
Their weapons don't seem to be controlled by the system. The ones I've picked up work for me just fine.
Right. But the PMC's weapons won't. You can steal their guns, but they'll most likely be locked and unusable. Remember that. Snake, these enhanced soldiers seem to be using some sort of device to cling to the walls.
Doesn't look like they have spikes or suction cups.
This is only a guess, but I think their gloves and boots might have some mechanism that employs van der Waals force. It's a type of mutual interaction that occurs between two electrically neutral particles. Geckos use it to crawl up walls and across ceilings.
Oh, that kind of gecko. But those things are a hell of a lot lighter than a human.
Well, around 10 years ago, I read about an experiment where they reportedly suspended an object weighing 100 grams using a 5mm square piece of adhesive tape. Assuming the technology's advanced since then, I don't see why these guys couldn't be climbing all over the walls.
Otacon, what about Vamp? How he ran up that support pillar in the big shell. You think that's how he did it?
You mean, did he have this technology? He could have, yeah.
So it wasn't that he had some freak supernatural powers.
Hey, when technology starts to test the limits of our imagination, what's the difference?
What was that noise? What was that? Huh?
Are those gecko on that truck? I always pictured gecko as these big, hulking things. But I guess they can fold up pretty small, too. Imagine that. I'll bet I could fit one through my front door if I tried. What do you think?
Thinking about redecorating?
Come on. You don't think I'm that weird, do you? Snake, remember how I told you the militia were basically amateurs?
Yeah. From what I've seen, though, they're holding their own. Not quite ready to lie down and give up, at least.
Right. The militia have hired operators working for them. You're disguised as one now. They make for pretty good commanders in battle. Well, maybe you haven't noticed because you're not actually working as one. But those operators are all over the place, shouting out orders and giving signals. The militia's ability to organize themselves in battle largely depends on their presence. Heaven forbid one of those operators gets taken out. The chain of command would dissolve, along with any real combat effectiveness. Snake, I've been doing some research.
No.
Look, those militia are generally made up of volunteers. But they're not just homegrown civvies who've been handed guns and told to fight. It looks like there's a locally based PMC. A small one, but it's there. So the militiamen you're seeing are most likely mercenaries hired by that PMC.
So you've got PMCs led by PMCs, fighting PMCs. A real showcase for the war economy.
This is the world we live in, Snake. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
What's that sound?